Hey there, today's practice, we are going to do things that can help provide some care for the low back. And so this will be a more gentle practice close to the floor. And the asanas or postures that I've picked for today's class can help stretch the different muscle groups that influence the low back and how it might feel on a day-to-day basis. So you'll want 2 blocks to lift the floor up for a couple of the kneeling postures or whatever props you use to do that. A strap or a scarf just in case you need it to stretch the quads, and then a blanket or a towel again for the kneeling postures. And today we're actually going to start in a child pose. So you'll bring the big toes to touch, knees a little bit wider than the hips, and then you'll start to walk the hands down and forward. You can also take a child pose with the big knees touching, and then walking the hands forward. You would rest the forehead on the floor, and if your forehead doesn't quite meet the floor, like mine is not today, you can take a prop and put it underneath the head, and then reach the hands back behind you, so that you get a little bit of rounding in the spine. Whatever variation you've chosen, you're going to let yourself settle in, and you can always lift the height of the head. If this is too much on the knees, you can take a resting position more on the back or a comfortable seat, whatever works for you. Once you're in this first posture, you'll start to either close the eyes or gently gaze down at the nose. We'll start to turn the focus inwards. So at first you might start to notice how the legs are contacting the ground. Does it feel like you have equal pressure between both the left and the right sides? Next, you'll start to notice the rate of your breath. Is it fast or slow? And are you breathing into the chest, the belly, or both? Then you'll take the time to check in with the body to see how everything feels in this moment. You might scan from the top of the head all the way down to the tips of the toes, seeing how everything feels. You might notice certain areas feel a little bit more tense or uncomfortable, and others that maybe feel a little bit more relaxed or at ease. Reminder that one of these is not necessarily better than the other. It's just a reflection of how you move throughout your day. Finally, you'll bring your awareness to the mind to reflect on any thoughts that have come up so far in your practice or your day. Has the mind been racing with thoughts, or has it been a little bit more calm? Do the thoughts revolve around a certain topic? And do they like to linger, or can you easily let them go? We'll take one deep breath together where you inhale for 4, and then you'll open the mouth and let out a nice on the exhale. You can imagine yourself releasing something stressful or frustrating that you just don't want to carry into your practice. So when you're ready, you'll inhale for 4. Breathe into the low back for 3. Feel the ribs expand out to the side 2. Sip in the last bit of air 1. Open the mouth, exhale. You'll close the lips and do your best to breathe in and out just through the nose today. 4 count in, 4 count out. Last 3 breaths here in your child pose. Breathe into the low back. Really feel the increase in pressure as you inhale. And then with your next exhale, you'll walk the hands forward if they were back. You'll lift the head up and take the prop out to the side so that we can do a side bend. So still here with the body in a child pose position, walk the hands over towards the right. Left hand stays down, right hand on top. Exhale, sink. Left shoulder down and back towards the left knee. 3 to 4 breaths here in the left side of the body between left hip and left armpit. Inhale, you'll walk the hands towards the center. And then hands go over towards the left, right hand down, left hand on top. Exhale, sink right shoulder down and back towards the right knee. 3 to 4 deep breaths here into the right side of the body between right hip, right armpit. Trying to notice an increase in pressure on the right side as you inhale. Next inhale, you'll walk the hands back towards the center and then towards the knees. Inhale, lift yourself into tabletop position. Maybe stretch the legs back a couple of times since we had the knees bent for quite a while. And then you'll find yourself into that tabletop position. Hands directly underneath the shoulders, knees directly underneath the hips. Push the feet into the floor. As you exhale, round the spine completely, tailbone down, chin to chest. And as you inhale, move towards looking up. Untuck the tailbone, drop the belly. Pull the chest forward through the arms and look up. You have 4 rounds here on your own, with your own breath in your own time. Really trying to push the boundary of your spine a little bit more each time. After your next round, you'll start to lower onto the stomach, and you'll want to make sure that you have your strap or scarf nearby. So as you make your way onto the stomach, we'll start on the right side. First thing we'll do is stretch the quads. So you'll bend the right knee, reach around with the right hand. And sometimes when you prop yourself up on the left forearm, it gives you a little bit more space to grab onto the foot. If you find yourself struggling here, you might want to take the strap or the scarf, and you're going to hold one side with the left hand, reach around best you can, wrap the strap around the foot, and then you're going to bring that right hand forward so that the strap is over the right shoulder. As you exhale, you're going to start to sink the hips down towards the floor and pull the right foot closer to the right glutes. If you have the hand on the foot, you'll want to make sure to really squeeze the shoulder blades together. And if you have any pain in the shoulder, please move to a strap or a scarf. Push the hips into the ground and pull the right foot as close as you can towards the right hip. 3 to 4 breaths here. If you need a little bit more of a stretch, you can always slide a pillow or a prop underneath the right leg to lift it up higher. This is just going to change the angle of the stretch that you might feel. Last 2 breaths. When you're ready, you'll slowly release the strap out to the side, letting it fall away. And then you'll slide the right knee in line with the right hip. So the inside of the right knee in line with right hip, moving towards half frog pose. Left leg stays straight, right knee in line with the right hip, flex the toes towards the right. And then you'll lower the chest down towards the floor. Try to sink right hip a little closer towards the ground with each exhale. You have about 4 breaths here. I'm going to give another couple of set of options. So we are going to be in this position for a little bit of time. And the next option is to actually just straighten the right leg completely out to the side so that you can get your right foot on the ground with the right leg as straight as possible. You might even walk the right foot up a little bit more. But you want to keep trying to sink right hip down into the ground for maybe another 3 breaths. You can always, if this is too much, keep the knee bent. Our goal today is to maybe find a stretch that's, a 4 or 5 on a 10 scale. That you're able to keep the exhales equal length as the inhales or a little bit longer. This allows your body to communicate if you've pushed yourself maybe a little bit too far. And so you can always use the breath as a gauge. Option to stay here with your legs in this position, chest down, or you might try to add a sphinx position for the upper body. Elbows underneath the shoulders, forearms parallel to one another. Pull the chest forward and then maybe look up. If this causes any pain in the low back, hip, I need you to lower back down onto the floor with the chest. Last 4 breaths wherever you are. If the leg is straight, you're going to start to bend the right knee, right toes out to the side again. We'll move towards a spinal twist. So the lower body stays the same. Lift the right arm up, slide the left arm underneath, and then you'll exhale or inhale, whatever feels best for you. Open up left shoulder back behind you so the chest goes up towards the ceiling. You may or may not get a release. Some pops in the back. Hopefully they're not painful. You have about 4 to 5 breaths here. So in this position with the right knee heavy, it might be really difficult to get that right shoulder back. With each exhale, you want to imagine this right shoulder trying to go closer to the floor. Next, inhale, you'll reach right hand high, and then roll back onto the stomach. Straighten the right leg back behind you, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to flip around so you have a better idea of what the left leg is doing, starting with the quad stretch. So you can start in a more elevated position here if you think you're going to need the strap. This can sometimes just make it easier. Place the strap around the foot. Then you'll come back onto the stomach, bend the left knee, and you're going to start to pull on your strap so that you can get the left heel a little closer to the glutes. Push the hips into the ground, chest can stay closer to the floor. Maybe relax the head down. If you need a deeper stretch in the quads, remember you can always place a blanket or a pillow underneath the left knee. You have 4 breaths here. Breathing into the front side of the left thigh. After your next exhale, you'll slowly loosen the grip on the strap if you have it, and then release the foot towards the floor. Slide your left knee in line with the left hip and flex the left toes out towards the side. So you want to try to get your left knee in line with the left hip with the inside of the knee down. Flex the toes towards the left, and then you're going to turn the chest back down towards the ground for your half frog pose. Right leg straight back behind you. You can rest the chin on the palms if you'd like. We have about 4 breaths here before I give some of the other options. You might notice as we continue with this practice where we're doing some longer holds, a lot less movement, that the mind can tend to wander a little bit more. And so you at first might observe this, and then once you observe it, try to see if you can lengthen out the exhales or check back in with the body so you can return your awareness back to this present moment in how the body feels or the rate of the breath, so that you don't have to get lost in your thoughts. You'll start to straighten that left foot out to the side or left knee out to the side if that's what you would like to do, and you might try to push left foot towards the floor. Experimenting here, you can also try and rotate that left foot up, left toes up towards the ceiling. That'll give you a little bit of a different stretch. Or you're going to keep the left knee bent. Up to you, but try to still sink left hip towards the floor. And another 3 to 4 breaths here. If any movement that you do after the first one causes any pain or discomfort, please go back to the first one. So the other option was to lift the chest into a Sphinx position. You can do this with the left knee bent or straight, but you want to make sure when you do this, you don't have any pain in the low back pop up. So you'll start to crawl the elbows underneath the shoulders, forearms parallel to one another. Sink the hips down on an exhale. Inhale, pull the chest forward, maybe look up. 3 to 4 breaths in whatever variation of this pose you've chosen. Remembering to listen to the signals of the body. If your left leg is straight, you'll start to bend the left knee, moving towards a spinal twist. Push the left hand down, straighten the left arm. Slide the right arm underneath. And then as you inhale, open up into your spinal twist. Take your left arm back behind you. Allow the left leg to kind of slide with you as you rotate the chest up. And you have 4 breaths here in your spinal twist. Hopefully you're not super close to a wall like I am. It can be a little awkward. Next, inhale, left hand goes high to the sky. Start to roll back onto the stomach. Straighten the left leg back behind you. Hands go underneath the shoulders. Inhale, lift yourself up and back. You can take a downward facing dog here or make your way into a tabletop position. Start to exhale around the spine, chin to chest, tailbone down. Inhale, look up. Just checking in with how the spine is moving now. After we focus the stretches on the inner thighs or the adductors and the quads, the front of the thigh. We'll start to make our way into some of the kneeling postures. So if you have sensitive knees, you'll want to make sure to place a blanket or towel underneath the knees for extra support, and then maybe have the blocks nearby. Again, starting in your tabletop position, you're just going to step right foot forward where the right hand is. Right hand on one side, left hand on the other. And then you'll start to sink the hips down and forward. And so this is oftentimes what I find difficult for people. They don't quite understand. So you want to imagine if your hips are already over your left knee, you want to shift them more towards that right foot, and then you can walk the right foot out. Hands can go to blocks here if you need at any height, but your goal is to try to sink the left hip down, push the left foot into the floor, squeeze the left glutes, and then look up towards the ceiling. For maximum length on the front side of the body. 3 to 4 breaths here. Trying to keep the shoulders down away from the ears if you can. Next, exhale, you'll take the right hand on the inside of the right foot. Both hands can go on a block. We're moving towards a lizard pose. So if you already feel a nice stretch in the hip, you're going to stay here with the arms straight, chest forward away from the hips and slightly up. Or you can try and lower the left forearm down to the floor or a block, and then maybe the right forearm down. Or you're going to lower them all the way down towards the floor, but try to hug your right knee in tight towards the body. Again, sink the hips down. 3 to 4 breaths here. Noticing if you're carrying any tension in the jaw or the fists? If so, try to use a nice long exhale to release. After your next exhale, hands go down underneath the shoulders. Inhale, lift the chest, move the hips back towards the left knee for your kneeling pyramid. So you want to stack the left knee over the left hip over the left knee. Straighten the right leg, right toes up towards the ceiling. Hands can go to blocks at any height or your props, and you'll try to keep this right leg straight. Contract the right quad, and you'll start to do some cat-cows here. So exhale, round the spine, chin to chest, tailbone down. Inhale, look up, pull the chest forward and through. If this movement is too intense on the back side of the leg, you can either keep a slight bend in the knee or you're going to relax the foot down. So you have 5 more rounds here on your own with your own breath in your own time. After your next round, you'll slowly slide your right foot in, right knee next to the left, and we'll switch the sides. So step your left foot forward to find your low lunge. Remember, you want to take the hips and shift them in front of the right knee so that they go closer to the right foot or left foot. Hands can go on any props. Your goal here is to get the hips down as far as you can. Then squeeze the right glute. Push down through the right foot so that you can sink the right hip a little bit more. Then you might lift the chest up and away from the hips, maybe eventually taking your gaze high to the sky. 4 breaths in whatever expression of this pose works best for you today. Slowly starting to make our way towards a lizard pose. Take your left hand on the inside of the left foot. Right hand and left hand can be on blocks if you need here. You can keep the arms straight, pull the chest forward away from the hips, think long spine. Or you might start to lower the right forearm down and then the left forearm down. Those can go to any prop instead of the floor if that's maybe what you need. And you want to try to hug this left knee in with the left toes forward. You can do this by holding the leg or trying to do it actively. But 4 breaths wherever you are. Checking in with shoulders, jaw, fists to see if you're holding tension somewhere else in the body or if the length of your exhale has gotten a little short. If so, be honest with yourself and try to lengthen out the exhale, or you need to back out of the pose just a little bit more. Slowly place the hands down, straighten the arms, lift the chest. Start to shift the hips back over the right knee. So stack right hip on top of right knee, straighten the left leg, left toes up towards the ceiling, and try to contract your left quad. So think left kneecap up towards the hip. Hands can go to props if you need here. Inhale, start to pull the chest forward, and then you might do some cat-cows. So exhale, chin to chest, tailbone down, round the spine. Inhale, look up. Remember, you can always choose to relax left foot down if that's too intense for the back side of the leg. This movement here is great for gliding the sciatic nerve, which is the nerve that goes from the low back down the back of the leg. And we're just making sure that it can start to move through all of the connective tissue and soft tissue on the back side of the body. Last 1 or 2 rounds here. And then when you're ready, you'll slide the left foot in, left knee next to the right, and we'll make our way onto the back. So moving whatever props you need out of the side. so that you can make your way onto the back with the knees bent, feet flat on the floor. You'll start to rock the knees gently side to side. You're trying to isolate the movement between the legs and the hips. So keep the hips and the low back heavy towards the ground. You might close the eyes so that you can really check in with how low back and the hips are feeling in this moment. And then we'll start to work on some pelvic tilts. So allow the knees to come back towards the center, straight up towards the ceiling. You'll start to push the low back into the ground, tailbone towards the heels. Hold here. And then on your next inhale, arch the back. Tailbone down towards the floor. Try to lift as much of the low back off the ground as possible. Exhale, push the low back into the ground, tailbone towards the heels. So you can choose to do very small movements here if the back is hurting, or you might see and challenge yourself to get as much range of motion as you can in both directions. Inhale to arch. And you'll do this 3 more times. So you'll exhale, push the low back into the floor, tailbone towards the heels. Try to push the back of the head as well into the mat or the floor. And then inhale to arch. Last 2 rounds here. Making very slow and controlled movements. Noticing if you feel different lines of tension as you move the low back in different ways. So do you feel tension somewhere in the legs? Where is it? How does it feel? And how intense is it? Then you return yourself back into kind of this like neutral spine. And you'll start to hug the right knee in towards the chest. Interlace the fingers around the right knee. You can draw the right knee as much as you'd like towards the body, but I want you to check down at your right big toe. And if you can see it more towards the left knee, I want you to try and rotate at the hip to get the right toes to disappear behind your right thigh. And this might change the angle of the stretch that you feel in your hip, and then you can draw the leg in a little bit closer. Push the low back into the ground. 3 breaths here. Next, exhale, allow the right knee to go out to the side. Right ankle to the top of the left thigh for your figure 4 stretch. Allow the right knee to fall away from the face. This might be where you stay if this is enough of a stretch. Or if you need a little bit more, inhale, lift the left leg up, interlace the fingers behind the left thigh, and draw the right leg as close to the chest as you'd like to feel a stretch in the hip. You can also take another variation where you take your left elbow crease, wrap it around left foot, right elbow crease, wrap it around the right knee, interlace the fingers, and then you can lower the left foot towards the floor and draw the right leg closer to the body. But you're trying to keep the hips and the low back heavy towards the ground, maybe even tuck the chin towards the chest. Wherever you are, you have 4 more breaths. With each exhale, maybe you imagine another line of tension, kind of just releasing and leaving the body. With your next exhale, lower the left foot down towards the floor, moving towards a spinal twist. You can either cross the right leg all the way over the left leg, or you're just going to take the right leg towards the left side of the mat, straighten the left leg, try to keep the right shoulder heavy towards the floor. Maybe you use the left hand to give yourself some gentle pressure on the outside of the right leg. You have 6 breaths here, breathing as fully as you can on the inhale, feeling an increase in pressure as the breath enters the body. And then slowly drawing the belly button towards the spine on the exhale. Next inhale, you'll come back towards the center. Place both feet flat on the floor and rock the knees gently side to side. Just checking in. How does the low back and the hips feel between the left and the right side? Same or different? Hopefully maybe a little bit different in a good way because we've only done one side. And then when you're ready, you'll inhale, bring the left knee close to the chest, interlace the fingers around the left knee. Draw the knee as close as you'd like towards the chest and the left armpit. And then again, you might peek down at your left big toe. So if it's more towards your right knee, maybe today you challenge yourself to rotate at the hip to get the left foot more in line with the left thigh, left hip, so that you can't see your left big toe anymore when you do a sneak peek down towards the left big toe. Try to push the low back into the ground. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Maybe you tuck the chin slightly towards the chest. Last 3 breaths here. Next exhale, you'll slowly rotate left knee out to the side, moving towards your figure 4 stretch. Left ankle to the top of the right thigh, left toes up towards the ceiling. You can stay here, relax the left knee away from the face. Or you'll inhale, bring the right leg closer to the body, interlace the fingers behind the right thigh. Draw the leg as close as you'd like to get the stretch that feels the best in the left hip. And remember, you can always take the other option where you wrap right elbow crease around the right or left foot, left elbow crease around the left knee, interlace the fingers, then drop the foot towards the floor and relax the upper body back, push the low back into the ground. Sometimes, we compare and think that we have to go to, the next level of expression, but really that's just the depth that someone else needs to feel the same stretch that you're probably feeling in your own body. Last 3 to 4 breaths here. Breathing into the left hip, left low back, noticing how it feels. And then with your next exhale, you'll lower the right foot towards the floor, moving towards your spinal twist. Cross left leg all the way over the right if you'd like, or you're just going to take the left leg towards the right side of the mat for your spinal twist. Try to keep left shoulder heavy towards the floor. This time, when you're in your spinal twist, I want you to really try and lengthen out the exhales a little bit longer than the previous one. So you can kind of signal to the body that we're going into this more relaxed and restful state. Make these next 2 breaths your deepest in this pose so far. And then when you're ready, you'll return onto the back, both feet flat on the floor. Push the low back into the ground and rock the knees side to side. Just check in with how it's feeling in this moment. Hopefully a little bit more equal now between right and left sides. And then you'll want to walk your feet in a little closer. If the low back is still feeling really sensitive, you might drop the knees in, walk the feet a little further out to the side. We're going to do 5 diaphragmatic breathings, and this way is going to be a little bit different. So we're working on creating intra-abdominal pressure. And so your goal is to imagine that you have a cylinder between the bottom of the ribs where the diaphragm is and the pelvic floor at the bottom of the pelvis, and then the rest of your abdomen, torso area creates the cylinder part. And so when you inhale, the belly rises. And then as you exhale, a lot of times we draw the belly button in, and that can change the pressure that's inside the abdomen. And so we're going to try a different way of breathing and just see how it feels in your low back. But as you inhale, I want you to imagine the belly button rising, the low back pushing into the floor, and the sides also kind of expanding. So you have this very full cylinder. But then as you exhale, we're going to make a sound. So you're going to shush me. And you're going to try and keep your belly button up, your low back in the floor, and everything still expanded as you're exhaling instead of drawing the belly button down. So that's kind of going to be our challenge. You can rest the hands on the abdomen for the next 5 breaths while we do this. So when you're ready, you're going to inhale deep into the belly, feel the low back expand, and then you'll start to shush on your exhale for as long and as controlled as possible. Inhale. Exhale here. Try to keep the belly up, the low back into the ground. Once you finish, next inhale, fully into the belly here. Feel the low back go into the floor. Exhale, try to keep the belly up, low back into the floor. 2 more. Inhale fully into the belly. Exhale out. Really push the low back into the ground as you're exhaling. Last one here. Big inhale. Low back into the ground. Exhale. You can close the lips, return back to a more normal way of breathing. You might do any last bit of movement you might need here so you can move into your final resting posture for Savasana. You're welcome to add any support that you might need to take any expression of Savasana that feels the best for you. And today we're going to continue with a short breath retention, long exhale, where you inhale for 4, hold the breath in for 2, and then exhale out for a count of 6. If at any point you start to feel anxious, lightheaded, or dizzy, please return back to a more normal way of breathing for you. And remember, there can be so many things that happen in life and in the body that make it difficult to change the rate of the breath. And so if it's difficult today, practice patience and kindness with yourself. So when you're ready, you'll inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 1. Out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 1. Out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 1. Out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 1. Out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 1. Out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 1. Out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 1. Out. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Long inhale. Nice long exhale. With each next exhale, allow yourself to feel more supported by the ground and any props you might have beneath you. So that as you continue to exhale, you might allow yourself to sink into the support. So that as the body starts to feel more comfortable, it might release any remaining tension that it's holding onto. And in time, you might find this state of being that's right before you fall asleep, where the body is heavy, fully relaxed, resting, almost sinking into the support beneath it. And the mind is calm but present. So you can take these next 2 to 3 minutes to rest and recover here. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. With your next inhale, notice how the belly or the chest rises. With your next exhale, notice how they fall. So that as you bring awareness to the movement of the breath, you allow yourself to come back into this current moment. So you can slowly start to wake yourself up. You might wiggle the toes, fingers, you can circle the wrists, the ankles. Maybe you gently rock the head side to side or stretch overhead. Any movement that might feel good here. So that you can slowly start to roll to one side, maybe taking a breath or two here. And then eventually you'll start to push yourself up into a comfortable seat in the center of your space, where you might close the eyes or gently gaze down at the nose, using an inhale to sit tall and an exhale to relax the shoulders down away from the ears. Wherever you are, take a moment or two here to Just observe how the body and the mind now feel at the end of your practice. It can be as simple as different or same. You're always welcome to bring the palms together to touch, thumbs in front of the heart space. You might take this time to thank yourself for showing up to your mat, for dedicating this time to yourself and to your practice. Most of all, I would encourage you to thank your body for what it has allowed you to do today. When you're ready, you'll slowly start to blink the eyes open. Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me guide your practice, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.